My name is Martha Gundo. I'm 63 years old, and I never thought I'd be sitting here, telling strangers on the internet about the worst Christmas of my life. But here I am, because sometimes the pain gets so heavy that you just need to let it out, you know? You need someone to hear you, to understand that you're not crazy, that what happened to you was real and it hurt like hell. This Christmas, my own son looked me straight in the eye and asked, "Mom, do you like the house I bought you?" I blinked, confused, my fork halfway to my mouth, and I whispered, "What house?" The room went silent. Dead silent. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring and your heart pound so loud you can hear it in your throat. My daughter froze. Her face went pale, ghost white, like she'd seen death itself walk through the door. Then my son stood up, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor with a sound that made me flinch, and he turned to her with this look in his eyes I'd never seen before. Pure rage. Pure betrayal. And he shouted, loud enough to shake the china on the table, "Show me the deed now." And that's when everything came crashing down. That's when my entire world, everything I thought I knew about my children, about my family, about the life I'd built after their father died, just shattered into a million pieces right there on my dining room table, next to the ham I'd spent 2 days preparing and the pie I'd made from scratch because it was Ethan's favorite. Before I tell you what happened next, before I break my own heart all over again by reliving this nightmare, please, if you're listening to this, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from, because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know that somewhere out there, someone understands what it feels like to watch your family destroy itself right before your eyes. Because this story, it still hurts to say. God, it hurts so much. Let me take you back. Let me tell you how we got here, because nothing happens in a vacuum, right? There's always a history, always a foundation that cracks before the whole building comes tumbling down. I live alone now. I've lived alone for 7 years, ever since my husband Thomas passed away. Kidney failure, sudden, no warning. One day he was here, fixing the fence in the backyard and complaining about his knees, and the next day he was gone. Just gone. And I was left in this house, this modest little 3-bedroom house on Maple Street that we'd bought 40 years ago when the kids were small and life was simple and full of promise. It's not much, this house. The roof leaks when it rains hard. The kitchen cabinets are the same ones we installed in 1987, slightly warped now, the hinges squeaking every time I open them. The carpet in the living room has a stain from where Lydia spilled grape juice when she was 6, and I never could get it completely out. But it's mine. It's where I raised my babies. It's where Thomas and I grew old together, where we laughed and fought and made up and built a life. After he died, I thought about selling it. The memories were too heavy sometimes, you know? I'd walk past the bedroom and expect to see him there, reading the newspaper with his glasses sliding down his nose. I'd make coffee in the morning and accidentally pour 2 cups, forgetting for just a moment that I was alone now. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave. This house, with all its creaks and flaws and ghosts, it's all I have left of the life we built. My son, Ethan. God, where do I even start with Ethan? He's 38 now, successful, wealthy, everything a mother is supposed to be proud of, right? He went into real estate about 15 years ago, started flipping houses, then moved into commercial properties, and now he's got this whole empire. That's what he calls it. His empire. He drives a Mercedes, lives in a penthouse downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the river, wears suits that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. And I am proud of him. I am. But somewhere along the way, as the money grew and the success piled up, my son changed. He became hard. Distant. Controlling. He started talking to me like I was one of his employees, like every conversation was a business transaction. "Mom, you need to update your will. Mom, that house is depreciating in value. Mom, let me handle your finances. Always telling me what I needed, what I should do, how I should live my life. For years, Ethan loved to remind me that he'd take care of me someday. Don't worry, Mom, he'd say, usually on the phone because he was too busy to visit. When the time comes, I'll make sure you're comfortable. I'll buy you a nice place, somewhere better than that old house. You won't have to worry about anything. And I'd thank him, because what else do you say? But inside, I'd feel this twist in my stomach, this discomfort, because I didn't ask to be taken care of like I was some kind of charity case. I didn't ask for him to swoop in and fix my life like it was broken. I was doing fine. Not great, but fine. I had my routines, my garden, my book club, my small circle of friends who understood what it was like to be a widow trying to figure out how to live alone. Then there's my daughter, Lydia. She's 35, and she's nothing like her brother. Nothing. Where Ethan is loud and proud and always pushing forward, Lydia is quiet. Gentle. She works as a teacher at the elementary school 3 blocks from my house. 3rd grade. She makes barely enough to get by, lives in a small apartment with her boyfriend Derek, drives a car that's older than some of her students. But she's happy. Or at least, she was. Lydia stayed close after her father died. She'd come over every Sunday for dinner. She'd help me with things around the house, changing light bulbs I couldn't reach, fixing the Wi-Fi when it went out, just sitting with me on the porch in the summer evenings, not saying much, just being there. She never made me feel like a burden. She never made me feel like I needed to be fixed. But she was always in Ethan's shadow. Always. At family gatherings, when we used to have them, Ethan would dominate the conversation, talking about his latest deal, his newest property, his plans for expansion. And Lydia would sit there, quiet, smiling, nodding, but I could see it in her eyes. The hurt. The feeling of never being quite enough, never being the success story, never being the one mom could brag about to her friends. And God, that kills me now. It kills me that she felt that way, because I never compared them. I never loved Ethan more. But maybe I didn't do enough to show Lydia that her worth wasn't measured in dollar signs and real estate deals. Maybe I failed her in ways I'm only now beginning to understand. This Christmas was supposed to be the first time the family reunited in years. Years. Ethan had been too busy, always too busy. Last Christmas he was closing a deal in Chicago. The Christmas before that, he was in Dubai. Before that, I can't even remember the excuse. But this year he said he'd come. He said he had something special planned, something that would make up for all the missed holidays, all the broken promises. I was so hopeful. God, I was so stupidly, naively hopeful. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could be a family again. Not like before Dad died, we could never go back to that, but something. Some version of togetherness that didn't feel so fractured and forced. I spent days cooking. Days. I made all of Ethan's favorites. Honey glazed ham. Scalloped potatoes. Green bean casserole with the crispy onions on top. Homemade rolls. And that pie, that damn apple pie with the lattice crust that takes forever to weave together, but it was his favorite and I wanted everything to be perfect. I polished the old china that had been Thomas's mother's, the set we only used for special occasions. I cleaned the house from top to bottom, dusting the corners that hadn't been touched in months, scrubbing the bathroom tiles until they gleamed, vacuuming under the furniture, hanging fresh towels in the guest bathroom. I put up decorations, strung lights around the porch, set up the old artificial tree in the corner of the living room with the ornaments the kids had made in elementary school, their little handprints in clay and construction paper, preserved in time. I was pretending, I realize now. Pretending that the cracks in this family weren't showing. Pretending that we could paste over the distance and the hurt and the years of growing apart with one perfect Christmas dinner, pretending that everything was going to be okay. But it wasn't okay. It was so far from okay that I don't even know where to start. It started about 3 weeks before Christmas. I was going through my mail, the usual bills and junk mail and catalogs I never asked for, when I saw an envelope from a property management company I didn't recognize. Crestview Property Solutions. The envelope was thick, official-looking, with that kind of expensive paper that feels important in your hands. I opened it, confused, and inside was a letter congratulating me on my recent property purchase. They welcomed me as a new client and included information about property taxes, homeowners insurance, and a contact number for any questions I might have. I read it 3 times, thinking I'd misunderstood. But no, it was addressed to me. Martha Gundo. My name, my old address here on Maple Street. Congratulating me on purchasing a property at 847 Riverside Drive. I'd never heard of 847 Riverside Drive. I'd never purchased any property. I was barely keeping up with the mortgage on this house. My first thought was that it was a scam. You hear about these things, right? Identity theft, people buying things in your name, ruining your credit. My hands were shaking as I called the number on the letter, ready to tell them they'd made a mistake, that someone had stolen my identity. But the woman who answered was so kind, so professional. She pulled up my account and confirmed that yes, the property at 847 Riverside Drive was registered under my name as of 6 weeks ago. The deed had been filed, the purchase had been completed, all the paperwork was in order. But I didn't buy anything, I told her, my voice rising with panic. I don't know what you're talking about. She paused, and I could hear her typing. According to our records, the purchase was facilitated by Ethan Gundo on your behalf. He's listed as your son and power of attorney for this transaction. Ethan. My son. Power of attorney. The words swirled in my head, not quite making sense. I never gave him power of attorney, I said. I'm sorry, Mrs. Gundo, but that's what our records show. You might want to speak with your son about this. Is there anything else I can help you with today? I hung up, my heart pounding. I sat at the kitchen table for I don't know how long, staring at that letter, trying to make sense of it. Ethan had bought a house in my name? Why? Why would he do that without telling me? And power of attorney? When did that happen? I tried to brush it off. I tried to tell myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was the surprise he'd been talking about. Maybe he'd bought me a new house like he'd always promised, and this was his way of doing it, as a Christmas gift. Maybe I was supposed to find out on Christmas Day, and this letter had been sent too early by mistake. But something felt wrong. Something felt deeply, fundamentally wrong, and I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut, that sick, twisting sensation that tells you danger is coming even when you can't see it yet. A few days later, I mentioned it to Lydia. Casually, trying to sound light about it, not wanting to alarm her. We were having coffee at her apartment, and I said, "Hey, I got the strangest letter last week. Something about a property purchase I didn't make. Did Ethan mention anything to you about buying a house in my name?" The change in her was instant. She went rigid, her coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips. Her eyes darted away from mine, focusing on something across the room, anything but my face. I don't know, Mom. You'd have to ask him. I tried calling him, but he said he'd explain everything at Christmas. Said it was a surprise. Yeah, she said, her voice tight. Yeah, just wait till Christmas. But she wouldn't look at me. My daughter, who'd never been able to lie to me, who wore every emotion on her face like an open book, wouldn't meet my eyes. Lydia, honey, is something wrong? No, Mom. Everything's fine. Just wait till Christmas, okay? Please. Please is what got me. The desperation in that word, like she was begging me not to push, not to dig, not to uncover whatever was buried beneath the surface. I wanted to press her. I wanted to grab her shoulders and make her look at me and tell me the truth. But I didn't. I backed off, because I was scared. Scared of what I might find out. Scared of breaking whatever fragile thing was holding my family together. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Thomas's side of the bed cold and empty like always, and I thought about that letter. About Ethan's promise to explain at Christmas. About Lydia's fear. Around midnight, I got up to get some water. As I passed by the living room, I heard Lydia's voice. She'd stayed late, dozing on the couch while we watched a movie. I thought she was asleep, but she was on her phone, her voice low and urgent. I can't keep this from her much longer, she was saying. She knows something's wrong. No, Ethan, I told you this was a bad idea from the start. I don't care what you spent, this is wrong. Don't tell Mom yet? It's her house. It's her name on the deed. I froze in the hallway, my heart pounding so hard I thought she might hear it. You don't understand the position you've put me in, she continued, her voice breaking. If this comes out, when this comes out. God, Ethan, what were you thinking? There was a long pause, and then she said, very quietly, I'm scared. I backed away slowly, carefully, not wanting her to know I'd heard. I went back to my bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, shaking. They were hiding something. Both of my children were hiding something from me, something involving a house and a deed and decisions made in my name. And whatever it was big enough to scare Lydia, my brave, steady daughter who'd held my hand at her father's funeral and never let me see her cry. I decided then that I wouldn't confront them. Not yet. I'd wait for Christmas, like they'd asked. I'd wait for the truth to reveal itself, because trying to drag it out of them would only make things worse. I could feel that in my bones. But the waiting was torture. Every day that passed felt like walking through fog, knowing there was a cliff edge somewhere ahead but not being able to see it, just waiting for the moment when the ground would disappear beneath my feet. 2 weeks before Christmas, I went to the bank. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I needed to see for myself. I needed to check my accounts, make sure nothing else had been done in my name without my knowledge. The bank manager, a kind young man named David who'd helped me after Thomas died, printed out all my statements. Everything looked normal. My checking account, my savings account, my small retirement fund that I'd been too scared to touch. Nothing unusual. No unauthorized withdrawals, no strange transfers. Is there something specific you're concerned about, Mrs. Gundo? David asked. I showed him the letter from Crestview Property Solutions. This says a property was purchased in my name, but I don't remember doing it. I don't remember signing anything. He examined the letter, frowning. 847 Riverside Drive. That's in the new development across town. Nice area. Very expensive. Can you check if there's a property registered under my name at that address? He typed on his computer, his frown deepening. There is. It shows you as the owner of record as of October 15th. The purchase price was $425,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. $425,000. For a house I'd never seen, in a part of town I'd never been to, purchased with money I didn't have. How is that possible? I whispered. I don't have that kind of money. I didn't take out a loan. According to this, the property was purchased outright, no mortgage. The funds were transferred from an account at First National Bank under the name Ethan Gundo. My son. My son had bought a house in my name with his own money. Why? What possible reason could he have for doing that? Mrs. Gundo, are you all right? You've gone very pale. I'm fine, I lied. Thank you, David. It's a family matter. I'll sort it out. But I wasn't fine. I left the bank in a daze, got in my car, and just sat there in the parking lot for probably 30 minutes, trying to make sense of it all. $425,000. Ethan had spent nearly $500,000 to buy a house in my name. A surprise, he'd said. A Christmas gift. But if it was a gift, why did it feel so wrong? Why was Lydia scared? Why all the secrecy? And then another thought crept in, darker, more disturbing. The letter had mentioned power of attorney. If Ethan had power of attorney over my finances, over my property, what else could he do? What other decisions could he make in my name? I drove to the county clerk's office. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I needed to see the deed. I needed to see my signature, confirm that I'd actually signed something, even if I didn't remember it. The clerk helped me pull up the records. There it was. 847, Riverside Drive, owner of record, Martha Gundo. Deed filed October 15, 2024. Can I see a copy of the signed deed? I asked. She printed it out, and I scanned the pages with shaking hands. There were signatures, dates, notary stamps. And there, on the final page, was my signature. Except it wasn't my signature. It was close, very close, but the M was wrong. I always loop the M in Martha a certain way, a habit from years of signing report cards and permission slips and checks. This M was too straight, too careful. Someone had forged my signature. And I had a horrible, sinking feeling I knew who. I drove home in a fog. I made dinner that I didn't eat. I tried to watch TV but couldn't focus. My mind kept circling back to that signature, to Lydia's fear, to Ethan's promises. That night, I called Ethan. I didn't want to wait anymore. I couldn't. Mom, hey, I'm kind of in the middle of something. Did you forge my signature? The words came out harsher than I intended, but I was past the point of being gentle. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Mom, I don't know what you're talking about. The house, Ethan. 847, Riverside Drive. My name is on the deed, but I never signed anything. It's a surprise, Mom. For Christmas. I told you I'd explain everything then. Explain now. I can't. Not over the phone. It's complicated. Just trust me, okay? Have I ever let you down? The question felt like a punch. Because yes, he had. So many times. Every missed holiday, every broken promise, every time he treated me like a problem to be solved instead of his mother. I want to know now, Ethan. Christmas, Mom. I promise, everything will make sense at Christmas. Just trust me a little longer. He hung up before I could respond. I stood there in my kitchen, holding the phone, feeling more alone than I had since Thomas died. The next few days crawled by. I went through the motions of living. I finished the Christmas preparations because what else was I going to do? Cancel? Confront them? Demand answers they weren't willing to give? I was trapped in this horrible limbo, knowing something was wrong but not knowing what, not knowing how bad it was going to be. Lydia called me 3 times, asking if I was okay, if I needed help with anything. Each time, I wanted to scream at her to just tell me the truth. But I didn't. I kept my voice calm, kept up the pretense that everything was fine. Please just wait till Christmas, Mom, she said during the last call, and there was so much pain in her voice that I almost caved. I almost told her it was okay, that I forgave her for whatever she was hiding. But I didn't. Because it wasn't okay. And I didn't know if I could forgive her. Christmas Eve came. I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, watching the clock tick closer to midnight, closer to the moment when all the secrets would finally spill out and I'd have to face whatever was coming. At some point, I must have dozed off, because I woke to my alarm at 6 a.m., Christmas morning. The house was cold. I'd forgotten to turn up the heat. I made coffee with shaking hands, went through the motions of getting ready, putting on the nice sweater I'd bought for today, fixing my hair, putting on lipstick even though I felt like I was preparing for a funeral, not a celebration. Ethan and Lydia were both coming at noon. 4 hours. 4 hours until my family would be together, and 4 hours until whatever bomb they'd been hiding would finally explode. I finished the last of the cooking. Set the table with the good china. Put out the cloth napkins. Arranged the centerpiece just so. Everything looked perfect. Beautiful. Like a scene from a Christmas movie. But I felt dead inside. Hollowed out. Going through the motions because that's what you do. You put on a brave face. You pretend everything is fine even when your world is crumbling. At 5 minutes to noon, Ethan's Mercedes pulled up outside. I watched from the window as he got out, tall and confident in his expensive coat, carrying a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. Lydia arrived right behind him in her old Honda. She looked tired. Scared. She and Ethan exchanged a look as they walked up the path together, and I saw Ethan shake his head slightly, like he was telling her to keep quiet. I opened the door before they could knock, plastering on a smile that felt like it might crack my face in half. "Merry Christmas," I said, too bright, too loud. "Merry Christmas, Mom," Ethan said, kissing my cheek. He smelled like expensive cologne. Lydia hugged me tight, holding on a little too long. "Merry Christmas, Mama," she whispered. We went inside. Made small talk. Ethan complimented the decorations. Lydia helped me bring out the food. We moved around each other like dancers in a choreographed routine, everyone playing their part, everyone pretending this was normal. Dinner started peacefully. We sat down, the three of us at the table where I'd fed them as children, where Thomas had carved turkeys and told bad jokes and made us laugh until our sides hurt. But Thomas wasn't here anymore, and his empty chair at the head of the table felt like a presence all its own. We ate. We talked about safe things. The weather. Lydia's students. Ethan's latest project. Nobody mentioned the house. Nobody mentioned the secrets. I poured wine. More wine. Trying to blur the edges of my anxiety, trying to make it through this meal without screaming. And then, halfway through dinner, Ethan raised his glass. He had this smile on his face, proud and satisfied, like a cat who'd just caught a mouse. "I want to make a toast," he said. "To my family. To new beginnings. And to Mom, who deserves better than she's had." Lydia went rigid beside me. I saw her knuckles go wide around her fork. "Mom," Ethan continued, his smile growing wider, "I know you've been wondering about that letter you got. About the property. And I'm so excited to finally tell you. I bought you a house. A beautiful house in the new Riverside development. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, brand new appliances, a garden that backs up to the river. It's everything you deserve and more." He looked so pleased with himself. So proud. Waiting for me to thank him, to cry with joy, to tell him he was the best son in the world. But all I felt was cold. Cold and confused and angry, because this didn't make sense. None of this made sense. "Ethan," I said slowly, "if you bought me a house, why is my name on the deed instead of yours?" His smile faltered just a little. "Well, it's your house, Mom. I wanted you to have the security of owning it outright. No strings attached. But I never signed anything. I handled all the paperwork. Made it easy for you. You forged my signature." The table went silent. Lydia looked like she might be sick. It's a technicality, Mom. The important thing is, you forged my signature and put a house in my name without my permission. I was trying to give you a gift. His voice was rising now, defensive. I was trying to take care of you, like I've always said I would. Why are you making this into a problem? And that's when I asked the question. The question that had been burning in my gut for weeks. Ethan, do you like the house you bought me? He blinked, confused by the odd phrasing. What? Of course I do. It's perfect for you. No, I said, my voice quiet but steady. I mean, do you like the house I supposedly own? Do you like the house at 847 Riverside Drive that's in my name but that I've never seen? Mom, what are you? I turned to look at him directly, and I asked the question that changed everything. Do you like the house I bought you? What house? The confusion on his face was genuine. He truly didn't understand what I was asking. And that's when I knew. God help me, that's when I knew. I turned to Lydia. My daughter. My baby girl. She was crying, silent tears streaming down her face, and she wouldn't look at me. Lydia, I said softly. Show me the deed. Mom, Show me the deed now. Ethan's head whipped toward his sister. What is she talking about? Lydia, what's going on? But Lydia just sat there, frozen, tears falling, her whole body shaking. And then Ethan's face changed. I watched the confusion shift to suspicion, then to understanding, then to rage. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward with a crash. Lydia. What did you do? I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. What did you do? And then it all came spilling out. My daughter, my gentle, quiet daughter, started talking, the words tumbling over themselves in a desperate rush to get out. She'd been in debt. Serious debt. Her boyfriend Derek had gotten them into some kind of investment scheme that went bad, lost all their savings, and then he'd borrowed money from the wrong people to try to make it back. They owed $80,000 to loan sharks who were making threats, who'd shown up at their apartment, who'd made it very clear what would happen if they didn't pay. She was terrified. Desperate. She didn't know what to do. And then Ethan told her about his plan to buy me a house as a Christmas surprise. He'd had her help with some of the paperwork, trusted her to handle some of the filing because she had time and he was busy with other deals. She'd seen an opportunity. A horrible, desperate opportunity. She'd changed the deed. After the house was purchased in my name, before it was filed with the county, she'd altered the documents. Changed the owner from Martha Gundo to Lydia Gundo. It was simple, really. Just a few letters are different. Martha to Lydia. She'd forged my signature on the transfer documents. Used the same notary Ethan had used for the original purchase, but paid him extra to backdate everything, to make it look like I'd willingly transferred the property to her. And then she sold it. Sold the house at 847 Riverside Drive to a developer for $410,000. Kept enough to pay off the debt and have a little left over for a fresh start. She'd planned to confess today, at Christmas dinner. Planned to tell Ethan that there'd been a mistake, that the house was gone, that she was sorry. She'd thought maybe he'd be so focused on the holiday, on family, that he wouldn't react as badly. Maybe he'd forgive her eventually. But she'd never expected me to figure it out first. Never expected me to confront her. Never expected any of this. As she talked, Ethan's face went from rage to disbelief to something I'd never seen before. Betrayal. Pure, absolute betrayal. His sister, whom he'd trusted, whom he'd included in his plans, had stolen from him. Had used his gift to our mother as a way to solve her own problems. You stole from Mom, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. You stole her house. The house I bought for her. I'm sorry, Lydia sobbed. I was desperate, I didn't know what else to do. They were going to hurt Derek, they were going to hurt me. You stole from our mother. I was going to pay you back. I swear, I was going to. Pay me back? Pay me back? Do you have any idea what you've done? That wasn't just money, Lydia. That was supposed to be Mom's security. Her future. I was trying to give her something real, something permanent, and you sold it like it was nothing. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And through all of this, I just sat there. Silent. Watching my children destroy each other. Watching the truth tear through the fabric of our family like acid through cloth. Ethan turned to me, and I'd never seen him look so broken. Mom, I swear I didn't know. I had no idea she'd done this. The house was supposed to be yours. All yours. I just wanted to give you something better than that old house that's falling apart. I wanted you to be comfortable. And I believed him. God help me, I believed him. His intentions had been good, even if his methods were controlling and presumptuous. He genuinely wanted to help. But Lydia. My Lydia. The daughter who'd stayed close, who'd been there for me, who I'd thought I could trust more than anyone. She'd stolen from me. Used my name, my identity, to commit fraud. Had forged my signature and sold a property I'd supposedly owned without my knowledge or consent. And she'd done it all while looking me in the eye, hugging me, telling me to wait till Christmas. Get out, Ethan said to Lydia, his voice cold and dead. Ethan, please. Get out of this house. Get out of my life. I never want to see you again. Mom, please, say something. I looked at my daughter. At her tear-stained face, her desperate eyes, her hands reaching toward me like I could save her from the consequences of what she'd done. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to feel. I was angry. I was hurt. I was betrayed. But she was still my daughter. Still my baby. And I'd heard the fear in her voice when she talked about the threats, about Derek, about the debt. I think you should go, Lydia, I said quietly. The look on her face will haunt me forever. Like I'd stabbed her. Like I'd reached into her chest and ripped out her heart. Mom. Not forever. I'm not saying never. But right now, I can't. I can't look at you. She left. Grabbed her coat and ran out the door, sobbing. We heard her car start, heard her drive away too fast, tires squealing. And then it was just Ethan and me, sitting at this table full of food nobody was eating, surrounded by Christmas decorations that felt like a mockery, the ruins of our family scattered around us like broken glass. Ethan stayed for another hour. We didn't talk much. He made some phone calls, angry whispered conversations with his lawyer. He promised me that he'd fix this, that he'd get the property back legally, that he'd make sure Lydia faced consequences for what she'd done. I'm going to sue her, he said. For fraud, for theft, for everything. She can't just get away with this. She's your sister, I said. She was my sister. Not anymore. What she did. I can't forgive that, Mom. I can't. He left around 4 p.m. Kissed my forehead. Told me not to worry, that he'd handle everything. And then he was gone too, and I was alone in this house full of food and decorations and silence. I didn't clean up. I just sat there at the table as the light faded outside, as Christmas evening turned to Christmas night. I thought about Thomas, about how he'd have handled this. Would he have been as angry as Ethan? As hurt as I was? Or would he have found some way to fix it, to pull us back together? But Thomas was gone, and I was alone with this mess, and I didn't know how to fix it. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Ethan's lawyer did what he said he'd do. He filed a lawsuit against Lydia for fraud and theft. The police got involved. There were investigations, depositions, meetings with lawyers and accountants and investigators who treated me like I was either a victim or a co-conspirator. They couldn't quite decide which. They questioned me for hours. Asked me the same questions over and over. Did I know what my daughter was planning? Had I given her permission? Was I aware of the debt? Did I willingly sign anything? No. 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 I felt like I was being interrogated for a crime I didn't commit, punished for being stupid enough to trust my own child. The notary Lydia had bribed came forward, terrified, confessing everything. How she'd paid him $5,000 to backdate documents and falsify records. How she'd told him it was a family matter, that her mother had given verbal consent but couldn't come sign in person due to health issues. How he'd believed her because why wouldn't he? She seemed so nice, so trustworthy. The developer who'd bought the house was furious. He'd already started renovations, had contracts with contractors, had buyers lined up. Now the whole sale was being contested, potentially voided. He threatened to sue everyone involved. It was a mess. A legal, financial, emotional mess that spread out like poison, touching everyone, ruining everything. Ethan stopped speaking to Lydia completely. Blocked her number. Returned her letters unopened. When she tried to show up at his office, security escorted her out. He was done. Completely, utterly done. And me? I was caught in the middle. The mother who'd lost both children in one horrible Christmas dinner. Lydia called me every day for 2 weeks. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I'd pick up the phone, see her name on the screen, and just stare at it until it stopped ringing. Then I'd listen to the voicemail she left, her voice broken and desperate. Mom, please talk to me. Please. I know I messed up, I know I hurt you, but you're my mother. Please don't shut me out. Mom, Derek left me. He took the money and left. I'm alone and I'm scared and I don't know what to do. Mom, Ethan's lawyer sent me papers. They're threatening criminal charges. I could go to jail. Mom, please, I need you. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it back. I wish I'd never done it. Please, just talk to me. Please. Each message broke my heart a little more. But I still couldn't call her back. Because every time I thought about picking up the phone, I remembered that moment at Christmas dinner. I remembered her face when she confessed. I remembered the realization that she'd been lying to me for months, looking me in the eye and lying, using my name to commit fraud while acting like everything was fine. How do you forgive that? How do you trust someone again after they've shown you that they're capable of that level of deception? But she was still my daughter. Still my baby. And God, that made it so much harder. 3 weeks after Christmas, Ethan's lawyer called me. They'd reached a settlement with the developer. Ethan would buy back the property for $450,000, the original purchase price plus the developer's costs and damages. The developer would walk away, the deal would be unwound, and the property would revert to my name. And then what? I asked. Then it's yours, Mrs. Gundo. Free and clear. Your son wants you to have it, as he originally intended. What about Lydia? There was a pause. Ms. Gundo will be required to return the money from the sale, plus penalties and legal fees. The total comes to approximately $175,000. If she can't pay, Mr. Gundo is prepared to pursue criminal charges for fraud and forgery. $175,000. Money Lydia didn't have. Money she'd already spent paying off debts and supporting a boyfriend who'd abandoned her the moment things got hard. And if she can't pay? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Then she'll likely face criminal prosecution. Fraud, forgery, theft by deception. She could be looking at several years in prison, Mrs. Gundo. Prison. My daughter is in prison. Because she'd been desperate and stupid and had made one terrible decision that spiraled out of control. I hung up and cried. Cried harder than I had at Thomas's funeral. Cried until I had no tears left, until my throat was raw and my eyes were swollen and I felt completely empty inside. That night, I finally called Lydia back. She answered on the first ring, her voice hoarse and desperate. Mom? I'm here, baby. She sobbed. Great, gasping sobs that sounded like they were being torn from her chest. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I know. I was so scared, Mom. Derek said they were going to hurt us, that we had to pay them back or they'd do something terrible, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't think straight, and then Ethan mentioned the house and I saw a way out and I didn't think about what it would do to you, to him, to everyone. I just wanted the fear to stop. Baby, why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you tell me you were in trouble? Because I was ashamed. Because I'd been so stupid, letting Derek talk me into that investment, trusting him with our money, and then when it all went bad I couldn't admit it. I couldn't tell you that I'd failed, that I'd messed up so badly. Lydia, I would have helped you. We could have figured something out together. I know. God, I know that now. But at the moment, I panicked. And I made everything so much worse. We talked for over an hour. She told me everything. About the investment scheme that Derek had gotten them into, promising huge returns that never materialized. About the loan sharks he'd borrowed from, trying to make back the money, and how the debt had just kept growing with interest and fees. About the threats, the fear, the constant anxiety of waiting for something bad to happen. She told me about how easy it had been to change the deed, how Ethan had trusted her completely, never suspecting that she'd betray him. How she'd told herself it was just a loan, that she'd pay him back, that it wouldn't really hurt anyone. But it did hurt people, she said, her voice small and broken. It hurts you. It hurt Ethan. It hurt everyone. And I can't take it back. I can't fix it. No, I agreed. You can't. Ethan's lawyer says I owe $175,000. Mom, I don't have that. I don't have anything. Derek took what was left and disappeared. I can't reach him. His phone's disconnected. He's just gone. What are you going to do? I don't know. I talked to a lawyer. A public defender. He says if I can't pay, if we can't reach a settlement, Ethan will probably press criminal charges. I could go to jail, Mom. Actual jail. 4 years. The thought of my daughter in prison made me physically sick. But what could I do? I didn't have $175,000. I barely had $5,000 in savings. And even if I did, should I bail her out? Would that be helping her or enabling her? Would it teach her that actions don't have consequences, that Mom will always be there to clean up the mess? I didn't know. God, I didn't know. I'll talk to Ethan, I said finally. I can't promise anything, but I'll try. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. I love you so much. I know I don't deserve your help, but thank you. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, trying to figure out what to say to my son. How to convince him to show mercy to the sister who'd betrayed him. I called Ethan the next morning. He didn't want to talk about it. Mom, she committed fraud. She stole from you. From us. She needs to face consequences. She's your sister. She was my sister. What she did. It broke something, Mom. I can't just forgive that. I'm not asking you to forgive her. I'm asking you to show mercy. She made a terrible mistake, yes. But does she deserve to go to prison? Does she deserve to have her entire life destroyed? She destroyed her own life when she decided to steal. Ethan, please. She's scared. She's alone. Derek abandoned her. She has nothing and no one. That's not my problem. It is your problem. She's your family. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, she is your sister and she needs help. Why should I help someone who betrayed me? Who looked me in the eye and lied? Who used my love for you to commit fraud? And I didn't have a good answer for that. Because he was right. What Lydia had done was inexcusable. But she was still my daughter. Still his sister. And families are supposed to forgive, aren't they? Supposed to stick together even when it's hard? Because I'm asking you to, I said finally. Because I'm your mother and I'm begging you to show mercy to your sister. Not for her sake. For mine. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I'll think about it, he said finally. But I'm not making any promises. He hung up. I'd never felt so powerless in my life. It took 3 more weeks, but Ethan finally agreed to a settlement. Not because he'd forgiven Lydia. He made that very clear. But because I'd asked him to, and because he didn't want to put me through the trauma of a criminal trial. Lydia would pay back $50,000 over the next 10 years, with interest. She'd also have to do 200 hours of community service and remain on probation for 5 years. If she missed any payments or violated probation, the criminal charges would be filed immediately. It wasn't mercy, exactly. It was a leash. A way for Ethan to maintain control, to ensure that Lydia would spend the next decade paying for what she'd done, both literally and figuratively. But it kept her out of jail. And for that, I was grateful, even if the gratitude tasted bitter in my mouth. Lydia called me when she got the news, crying with relief. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for talking to him. I know I don't deserve this, but I promise I'll make it right. I'll pay back every penny. I'll do whatever it takes. I know you will, baby. But even as I said it, I wondered if she really would. If she'd learned anything from this nightmare, or if she'd just learned to be more careful next time. If the fear of consequences was enough to change someone, or if some people just kept making the same mistakes over and over. I didn't know. And that uncertainty hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. By mid-January, the legal mess was mostly resolved. The property at 847 Riverside Drive was officially mine again, deed filed and registered, no disputes. Ethan's lawyer sent me all the paperwork, along with information about the house, photos, floor plans, tax information. It was beautiful. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, modern kitchen with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, hardwood floors throughout, a back patio that overlooked the river. Everything Ethan had promised. Everything I supposedly deserved. But I couldn't bring myself to go see it. I couldn't make myself drive over there and walk through rooms that had cost my family so much. Every time I thought about it, all I could see was that Christmas dinner. Ethan's rage. Lydia's tears. The moment our family broke in half. One afternoon in late January, Ethan stopped by unannounced. I hadn't seen him since Christmas, though we'd talked on the phone a few times about the legal proceedings. He looked tired. Older. Like the last month had aged him 5 years. Hey, Mom. Ethan. Come in, it's cold out. He sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where he'd sat on Christmas Day. I made coffee. We didn't talk for a few minutes, just sat there in uncomfortable silence. Have you been to see the house? He asked finally. No. I can't. Why not? Because every time I think about it, all I can remember is what it cost. Not the money. The family. What it did to us. He nodded slowly. I know what you mean. Ethan, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. Why did you really buy that house? Was it for me, or was it for you? He frowned. What do you mean? I mean, did you buy it because you thought I needed it, or because you needed to prove something? To yourself, to me, to Lydia? That you were successful, that you could take care of me, that you were a good son? He was quiet for a long time, staring into his coffee cup. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Maybe both. I don't know. I saw you in this house after Dad died, and you looked so small. So fragile. And I hated it. I hated that I couldn't fix it, couldn't bring him back, couldn't make you happy again. So I thought, maybe if I could give you something better, something new and beautiful without all the memories of loss, maybe that would help. Maybe that would make up for all the Christmases I missed, all the times I was too busy to visit, all the ways I'd let you down. Ethan, you never let me down. Yes, I did. I was so focused on building my career, on making money, on being successful, that I forgot what actually mattered. And when I finally realized it, I tried to fix it the only way I knew how. With money. With a grand gesture. But that doesn't actually fix anything, does it? No, I said gently. It doesn't. I'm sorry, Mom. For not being there more. For trying to control your life instead of just being your son. For not seeing that what you needed wasn't a new house. It was family. Real family, not this broken thing we've become. I reached across the table and took his hand. We're still family, Ethan. Broken maybe, but still family. Are we? I can't even look at Lydia without feeling sick. Every time I think about what she did, I get so angry I can't see straight. How do we come back from that? How do we ever be a family again when I can't trust my own sister? I don't know, I admitted. Maybe we don't. Maybe this is permanent. Or maybe, over time, we'll find a way to build something new out of the pieces. But that requires you to at least try to forgive her. I can't. Not now. Maybe not for a long time. But someday, you might. For your sake, not hers. Because holding on to this anger, this betrayal, it's going to eat you alive, Ethan. I can see it already. He pulled his hand away, stood up. I should go. Ethan. I'll call you later, Mom. I need some time. He left. And I was alone again in this house that suddenly felt too big and too small at the same time. February came and went. Then March. Life moves on the way it always does, whether you're ready or not. I still didn't go see the house at 847 Riverside Drive. Ethan kept asking if I'd been there, if I liked it, when I was planning to move. But I couldn't explain to him that the thought of leaving this house, this old, worn-out house with its creaky floors and leaky roof and memories in every corner, felt like betrayal. Like abandoning Thomas all over again. Lydia called me every week. We'd talk for a few minutes, never about anything important. The weather. Her job. Her new apartment. She'd moved out of the place she'd shared with Derek, found a small studio on the other side of town. She was working 2 jobs now, trying to save money for the settlement payments that would start coming due in a few months. She never asked about Ethan. I think she was afraid of the answer. One Sunday in March, she asked if she could come over for dinner. Just dinner, Mom. Just an hour. I miss you. I said yes. Because I missed her too, despite everything. Despite the anger and the hurt and the betrayal that still sat like a stone in my chest. She showed up with flowers. Daisies, my favorite. She looked thin, tired, and older. Like the weight of what she'd done was physically crushing her. We made small talk over dinner. Awkward, stilted conversation that felt nothing like the easy companionship we used to have. The trust was gone, replaced by this careful distance, like we were strangers being polite at a social function. After dinner, we sat on the porch even though it was cold. She wrapped herself in one of Thomas's old jackets that I kept by the door. "Mom," she said quietly. "I need to tell you something." My heart sank. "What?" "I've been going to therapy. Every week. Trying to figure out how I let things get so bad, why I made the choices I made." "That's good, honey. That's really good. My therapist says I have to take responsibility. Not just legally, but emotionally. I have to own what I did and why, and stop making excuses." "Okay. So I'm going to say this, and I need you to hear it. Really hear it." She turned to look at me, tears streaming down her face. "I stole from you, Mom. I forged your signature. I committed fraud using your name. And I did it knowing it was wrong, knowing it would hurt you and Ethan, but I did it anyway because I was scared and desperate and I thought I could get away with it. And I'm sorry. I am so, so sorry. Not just because I got caught. Not just because of the consequences. But because I betrayed your trust, and that's something I can never give back." I didn't say anything. What could I say? Sorry it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she continued. "I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I want you to know that I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be someone you can be proud of again, even if it takes the rest of my life." I reached over and took her hand. It was cold, trembling. "Lydia, I do forgive you. Not because what you did was okay. It wasn't. But because you're my daughter and I love you, and holding on to anger isn't going to change what happened. It's just going to poison us both." She sobbed, collapsing against me, and I held her while she cried. My baby girl. My daughter who'd made a terrible mistake and would spend years paying for it. "But I can't trust you," I added quietly. "Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. You understand that, right?" She nodded against my shoulder. "I know. I understand. And Ethan? I don't know if he'll ever forgive you. That's his choice to make, and you have to accept it if he doesn't." "I know." We sat there on the porch until it got too cold, until our fingers were numb and our breath came out in clouds. And then she left, and I went back inside to my empty house, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Not happiness, exactly. But maybe the very beginning of healing. Like a scab forming over a wound, tender and fragile, but there. April brought rain and the beginning of spring. The garden I'd neglected all winter started pushing up green shoots, stubborn life refusing to stay buried. Ethan called less frequently. He was busy with work, he said. A new development in Phoenix. Deals in California. Always moving, always working, always running from something he wouldn't name. When we did talk, he never mentioned Lydia. If I brought her up, he'd change the subject. He'd built a wall around that part of his heart, and I didn't know if anyone would ever be able to break through it. One afternoon, I finally drove over to 847 Riverside Drive. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe I just needed to see it. To understand what all of this had cost. It was beautiful. Even more beautiful than the photos. The house sat on a quiet street lined with young trees, modern and clean and perfect. I parked in the driveway and just sat there for a while, looking at it. This was supposed to be mine. This was supposed to be the gift that proved my son loved me, that showed he'd made it, that gave me security and comfort for my remaining years. But all I could see when I looked at it was pain. Ethan's betrayed face. Lydia's desperate tears. The family dinner that ended in devastation. I got out of the car and walked up to the front door. I had a key. Ethan had sent it weeks ago. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Empty rooms. Beautiful, clean, empty rooms that smelled like new carpet and fresh paint. Hardwood floors that had never been walked on. Kitchen that had never cooked a meal. Living room that had never heard laughter or tears or the sounds of life being lived. I walked through every room, trailing my fingers along walls that held no memories. And I realized something. This wasn't home. It would never be home. Home isn't about new appliances or river views or modern fixtures. Home is about the people you share it with, the memories you build in it, the love that soaks into the walls over years and decades. This house was beautiful. But it was empty. And I didn't want it. I called Ethan that night. I saw the house, I told him. Finally. What did you think? Isn't it perfect? It's beautiful, Ethan. Really beautiful. But I'm not going to move into it. Silence. Then, what? Why not? Because it's not home. This house, this old falling apart house on Maple Street, this is home. This is where I raised you and your sister. This is where your father and I grew old together. This is where my life is. And I'm not ready to leave it. Mom, that house is falling apart. The new one is so much better. Better isn't always what we need, Ethan. Sometimes what we need is familiar. Comfortable. Full of memories, even the painful ones. So what do you want me to do with it? I spent $500,000. Sell it. Keep the money. Or donate it. I don't care. But I don't want it. I never wanted it. I appreciate what you were trying to do, I really do. But this isn't what I need. Then what do you need, Mom? Tell me. Because I've been trying to figure out how to help you, how to make things better, and I keep getting it wrong. I need my children to talk to each other. I need this family to heal. I need you to forgive your sister, or at least try to. And I need you to understand that you don't have to fix everything. Some things are just broken, and we have to learn to live with the cracks. More silence. Then, quietly, I don't know if I can. I'm not asking you to do it today. Or tomorrow. Or even this year. But someday, Ethan. Someday you're going to have to decide if holding on to this anger is worth losing your sister forever. And I hope you choose forgiveness. Not for her sake. For yours. We talked for a while longer, going in circles, neither of us really hearing the other. When we hung up, I felt exhausted. Drained. Like I'd been fighting a battle I couldn't win. Summer came. The garden bloomed. Life continued its stubborn march forward whether we were ready or not. Lydia made her first settlement payment in June. $416 a month for the next 10 years. She called me after she mailed the check, her voice shaking. It's real now, she said. For the next decade, every single month, I'm going to be reminded of what I did. Of the mistake I made and the trust one broke. Maybe that's not a bad thing, I said gently. Maybe remembering is part of healing. Part of making sure you never make that mistake again. I miss Ethan, she said suddenly. I miss my brother. I know I don't have the right to miss him, but I do. Have you tried reaching out to him? He won't answer. I've called, texted, emailed. He blocks me every time. I wrote him a letter. He sent it back unopened. Give him time. How much time? How long do I have to pay before I'm forgiven? How many years of punishment is enough? And I didn't have an answer. Because I didn't know. Maybe there wasn't enough time in the world to undo what had been done. Maybe some betrayals are just too deep to ever fully heal. In July, Ethan sold the house at 847 Riverside Drive. He got $480,000 for it, made a small profit despite all the legal fees and complications. He put the money in an investment account in my name, and said it was my security whether I wanted it or not. I can't make you take the house, he told me. But I can make sure you're taken care of financially. That was always the point. I thanked him because what else could I do? And I left the money there, untouched, a reminder of good intentions gone horribly wrong. It's November now. Almost a year since that terrible Christmas. Almost a year since my family broke in half and I learned that houses can be bought but trust can't. Lydia still calls me every week. We have dinner together once a month, always at my house, always just the two of us. We're rebuilding something. It's not what we had before. It will never be what we had before. But it's something. Fragile and careful and tentative, but real. She's doing better. Still working 2 jobs, still making her settlement payments, still going to therapy. She got a small promotion at the school, started coaching the after-school art program. She seems lighter somehow. Like the weight of the secret she'd been carrying is gone, even if the weight of the consequences remains. Ethan and I talk maybe once a month now. Brief calls, surface-level conversations about work and weather and nothing that matters. He's still angry. Still hurt. Still building walls around his heart to keep from being betrayed again. Last week, I asked him if he'd thought about reaching out to Lydia. No, he said flatly. Ethan. Mom, I know you want us to be a family again. I know you want some happy ending where we all forgive each other and have Christmas dinner and pretend none of this happened. But that's not reality. What she did. It changed everything. And I can't just forget that. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to try to move forward. I am moving forward. Just not with her. And that's where we are. Stuck. Frozen in this moment of pain and betrayal, unable to go back but refusing to move forward. Christmas is coming again. The stores are putting up decorations. The radio is playing carols. Everyone is talking about holiday plans and family gatherings and joy. And I'm dreading it. Absolutely dreading it. Because this year, there won't be a family gathering. Ethan is going to Phoenix for a business trip that I know he scheduled specifically to avoid being here. Lydia asked if she could come over for Christmas dinner, and I said yes, but it won't be the same. It will just be the two of us, eating food I don't have the heart to prepare, pretending we're not aware of the gaping hole where Ethan should be. I keep thinking about what my therapist said. Yes, I'm in therapy now too, because how could I not be after everything that happened? She said that sometimes families break. That sometimes people do things that can't be forgiven or forgotten, and the only thing you can do is accept it and find a way to keep living. But I don't want to accept it. I don't want this to be permanent. I don't want to spend the rest of my life watching my children refuse to speak to each other, watching the family that Thomas and I built together slowly crumble into dust. When people say family is everything, I used to believe it. I used to think that blood ties were unbreakable, that love would always win in the end, that families could survive anything if they just held on tight enough. Now I know better. Now I know that family is only everything when there's honesty inside it. When there's trust. When people value each other more than they value money or pride or being right. You can buy houses. You can forge signatures. You can make grand gestures and spend $500,000 trying to prove your love. But you can't buy trust. You can't forge honesty. You can't spend your way into healing. And that's the lesson this terrible year has taught me. That's the truth I'm left holding as another Christmas approaches and I face the reality of a broken family that may never be whole again. My name is Martha Gundo. I'm 63 years old. And this was Christmas that taught me the difference between what money can buy and what truly matters. This was the Christmas that showed me how fragile families really are, how one moment of desperation can shatter decades of love, how betrayal can poison everything it touches. This was the Christmas that broke us. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I walk through this old house. I trail my fingers along walls where we hung family photos, where Thomas pencils in the kids' heights every birthday, where Lydia's grape juice stain still marks the carpet and Ethan's baseball once cracked a window that we never properly fixed. And I think about the house at 847 Riverside Drive. Empty rooms. New appliances. No memories. So perfect and clean and sterile. And I'm glad I stayed here. In this house with its creaks and leaks and ghosts. Because this house, broken as it is, falling apart as it is, full of pain as it is real. It's real in a way that a house bought with forged signatures and betrayal could never be. It's real in a way that grand gestures and desperate attempts to fix the unfixable can never match. But God, I'm tired. I'm so tired of the pain. Tired of being caught between my two children, loving them both, understanding them both, unable to help either of them. Tired of hoping for reconciliation that may never come. Tired of missing the family we used to be, before money and debt and desperation tore us apart. Tired of pretending that I'm okay when I'm not. When I'm so far from okay that I don't even remember what okay feels like anymore. If this story touched your heart, if you felt even a fraction of the pain I've carried this year, please, let me know. Like this video. Subscribe. Share it. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Tell me your own stories of family betrayal, of Christmas disasters, of the moment you realized that the people you love most in the world are capable of hurting you in ways you never imagined. Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know that somewhere out there, other families have survived this kind of devastation and found a way forward. I need hope. Real hope. Not the naive hope I had last Christmas when I thought a perfect dinner could fix the cracks in my family. But honest hope. The kind that acknowledges the pain and the damage and the possibility that things might never be completely right again, but believes that somehow, some way, we can learn to live with the broken pieces. That's all I have left. Broken pieces and the stubborn belief that maybe, someday, we'll find a way to fit them back together into something that resembles a family again. Maybe not this Christmas. Maybe not next year. Maybe not for a long time. But someday. I have to believe that. Because the alternative, accepting that this is permanent, that my family is truly and forever broken, is too painful to bear. So I'll keep hoping. Keep trying. Keep loving both my children even when they can't love each other. And maybe that will be enough. Maybe love, even broken love, even love that's been betrayed and tested and pushed to its absolute limits, maybe that will be enough to carry us through. Or maybe it won't. Maybe this is just how our story ends. A mother and two children who can't be in the same room anymore. A family destroyed by pride and desperation and one terrible decision made on a Christmas that was supposed to bring us together. I don't know. I honestly don't know. All I know is that my name is Martha Gundo. I'm 63 years old. And this was the Christmas that changed everything. Christmas that taught me that families aren't unbreakable. That love isn't always enough. That trust, once shattered, can't always be repaired. The Christmas that showed me the difference between a house and a home, between a grand gesture and genuine care, between what can be bought and what truly matters. The Christmas that broke my family and my heart and left me here, in this old house, surrounded by memories and ghosts and the echoes of laughter that feels like it belongs to a different lifetime. This was my Christmas. This is my pain. This is my truth. And I'm sharing it with you because maybe you need to hear it. Maybe you need to know that even in the darkest moments, when your family is falling apart and you can't see any way forward, you're not alone. We're all just doing our best. Making mistakes. Trying to fix things. Sometimes succeeding, sometimes failing spectacularly. But we're all still here. Still trying. Still hoping. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share this story that still hurts so much to tell. I'm Martha Gundo. And this is the Christmas that broke us.